navigate the complexities of the Nigerian landscape, it is essential to assess the current state of the nation Nigeria. This analysis seeks to explore how recent policies and decisions impact various sectors as it affects the Nigerian people. Faced with significant challenges in recent years, there have been concerted efforts to diversify the economy away from its heavy reliance on oil. It is clear that while there are initiatives in place to foster growth across various sectors, significant challenges still remain. Join us shortly with veteran sports journalist and political enthusiast Godwin Orumen as he identifies the path forward, requiring a collaborative effort between the government, private sectors, and civil societies to create an environment conducive for sustainable development. I'm Odiawa AI. Join us shortly.
My name is Godwin Orumen. I'm a sports lover. Some time ago, I was a frontline sports journalist, but now I'm nearing retirement.
Okay, so very briefly, tell us about your journey into. Okay, let's go on this aspect first. So please tell us, looking at your personality and profile, especially in the media, what do you think the government should do in balancing reforms, especially as it affects joblessness and inflation, rising cost of living, and all? What do you think government need to do right?
That's bordering on politics, but I'll do my best to say something. Well, I expect with the rebirth of the Sports Commission, an institution that will guide the development, sustainable development in the sector that would invite investors to the industry to give us new things, especially facilities, sponsorship, and overall package that when you say sports, it should be able to come near Nollywood. Nollywood recreated itself, and I give them credit for being able to take the bull by the horn, move themselves away from government as much as possible. But in producing top quality artists, they've been able to carve a niche for the industry. And at some point, government was in a position to give them something to expand the industry. Sports, it's been a bit tough because if you look at 20 Premier League clubs, about 17 or 18 are owned by government and its agencies. That's not productive. That's not a productive way of doing business because government officials, civil servants, they are not trained to turn businesses around or make them profitable. So government must divest itself in some of these sports facilities, these sports agencies, and then of course create an environment for investors to come in. Today, probably only one real stadium in Nigeria, the stadium in Uyo. But again, talked in that side of the country, it's underutilized. The National Stadium in Abuja was a bad idea in terms of positioning, and it's not been able to deliver as a multi-dimension, multi-destinational venue and facility. The National Stadium is really, oh my God, you don't want to talk about it. Now, the Teslim Balogun Stadium opposite it is just in as bad a shape as you can think. So, if government is able to sell off some of this, if they can't sell, they can concession this stadia to people who can afford to run them as a business. The National Stadium is so very cool. could very well be a billion naira spinning wheel, but in the hands of civil servants, it's not going to do anything. So we have to get to the point where government, through its agency, the Sports Commission, as I said, to free these facilities, create opportunities for investors to come in, and of course, such opportunities include tax holidays and many concessions that will make them put their money in it and know that, okay, in 5-6 years, this investment will generate money, and it can generate money, or while generating money, it's creating jobs. And then, of course, we also have to think about this again rests with the government to create a scheme where sportsmen, when their active days are gone, what do? They should prepare them for retirement and then have skills. I could make them acquire skills that will help them earn money to look after themselves. In addition to welfare schemes, insurance, and the rest of it, these are all things that some of us have advised the government and sports bodies, especially the sports ministry as it was then, and the Nigeria Olympic Committee. But you see, these are bodies who have spent more time doing politics and people holding on to power without being creative, without bringing up anything original. But in a nutshell, I welcome the re-establishment of the Sports Commission. I hope it's put into very good use to re-engineer our sports to such a level that the confidence of investors will go up and they come and take it from there and create new things, which, new things in the sports ecosystem. And then there will be everybody who sees position in the place. It's not to say we are stakeholders, no. There's got to be something original, something concrete, something that delivers, and then everybody's happy.
Okay, so we talked about enabling environment. Of course, we cannot achieve that without security. Now, what ways do you think the government can strengthen security, especially at the grassroots? Of course, there's no society without the grassroots. So once there's security at the grassroots, we have conquered it at the macro level. So what are your strategies towards getting it right in security?
Well,
especially community policing.
Yes, well, I'm a lawyer, but that's my limit. I'm not an expert in security matters, but it will come with an increase in number of security personnel, either the police or the vigilante. They have to expand them, train them better, and give them better equipment. And today they say the police has about 136,000 personnel. That's not enough for a country of 200 million people. And as you know, most of these policemen, they are attached to big men. And so they're not even available. We don't have enough. The few we have are not even available. So there has to be a structured approach to it, increase in the number of police personnel in the country, well trained, increase in vigilante. I don't think it would be a good idea creating a special force for sports. But these two bodies are adequately equipped and funded, and the right number of personnel, we should expect to see them on application for their presence at sports venues.
Okay, so you've seen administrations come and go. Now, looking at the economy and diversification of the economy, how do you think we can diversify? Of course, agriculture was a mainstay. Now, we are finding ourselves just relying on oil, which is not even in existence. So how can we, what do you think, what's your blueprint towards diversifying into technology, agriculture, and other aspects that will help the economy grow?
We're leaving sports now. I'm not an expert in
No,
this.
so no, just looking at public affairs as somebody who the economy affects you directly or indirectly.
Well, again, in my own small way, I have a farm. And I think that people begin to look at farming as not alternative, but as a complement to what is on ground. I was in Obasanjo's government. I know how much how much emphasis is put on agric. Agric is a let's feed ourselves first. Let food come cheap. I mean, in the UK, with £10, you can eat whatever you want to eat in a week. But today, look at the cost of something that was 7,500 less than 10 years ago. It went up to 120,000. And what is the minimum wage? I mean, we know what it is. They won't buy anything. So I believe that there should be schemes and personal desires to have people to return to farm. And then, of course, that also takes us to the issue of security, because up north, bandits and kidnappers are making farming, I mean, very unattractive. So government must step up the issue of security everywhere in the country so that people can go to farm. Many years ago, I also abandoned the farm in somewhere in Ogun State because I didn't want to have any traumatic experience. So security key. Government should make available agricultural facilities so that in soft conditions that people can go to farm and not just wait for the process of oil.
Okay, so being a private sector investor, how do you think, you mentioned something about the government not having any business in business. Of course, we need right policies to drive business comfortably. Now, how do you think we can get it right in public, government and private sector partnerships, especially in the economy? Do you think it will make any impact? Looking at the rising cost of living, how do you think we can get it right in public private partnerships, especially with the government?
Well, government has to be content with getting into a partnership on agreed terms and leaving private sector to be the operators, because they come in with their own competencies, specialization. They will tell government this is what will work if you give us this business in this condition. And such things only just mean, access to land, access to basically land and the things that go into businesses, and government must be able to make concession, and such concession include tax relief and, like I said, tax holidays, and then encouraging investors by sticking to the terms of engagement, not when one government leaves, the other one comes and cancels. Such guarantees, if they're entrenched in PPP arrangements, it will bring results.
Okay, so let's just look at healthcare. Of course, all of this affects even your projects. If your trainees are not well fed, they don't have good healthcare, even at these stages they are, of course it will affect them. So from your own perspective, as somebody who is a stakeholder in the media and a veteran too, what do you think government should do in prioritizing improved access to education and healthcare, such that we can reduce disparities in the country, especially when we're talking of some very good hospitals only affordable to the rich, and the general hospitals with their poor infrastructure affordable to only the poor. So how can we balance up these disparities?
Well, I wouldn't say it is an issue there, because it's straightforward. In Europe and America, you have private medical facilities. And I would say that government should increase the number of public health care delivery institutions, and that means upgrading. There are no two ways about it. If we should get to a level where just about anything can be treated at the general hospital. And for those who have the resources, they don't want to queue up for medical attention, they can use the private hospitals. But for ordinary mortals like us, we should go to the general hospital, find that the cost of doing X-ray is X amount, not exorbitant. The cost of picking cards, as simple as that, should be minimal. I mean, there are certain basic things as citizens we should enjoy from our country. Because the honest truth is that the money government is spending is not theirs. It's our big common patrimony. So joy should be spread. We should spread joy. Let's go to hospital in an hour, you should get medical attention. Yes, people talk about medical insurance and but hey, we're talking about the ordinary citizen. Man who hasn't finished or who hasn't found enough food for himself and his family, but he's going to have money to pay for insurance. So government should, go back to the 60s and 70s where the general hospitals were the places to go to when you have a medical challenge, whether small or big.
All right. So please tell us why the grassroots? Why did you decide to pick interest in the grassroots?
In my early days, I had the privilege of watching school sports. And we're talking about the 60s, where I lived with my mom opposite Hosi College, Ori. And Hosi College, Ori at the time was the mecca of school sports. And I saw many of these great athletes, Olatunbosun Popola, Tony Robo, who later became president of the FN, his cousin Evelyn Robo, Aboyade Cole. They all, from that level, represented Nigeria. But sometime in the 80s, that incubator stroke conveyor belt disappeared or stopped working. And in the absence of organized sports by sports administrators, and then inter-house sports in secondary schools seem to have gone quiet, the source of getting athletes to represent Nigeria started drying up. So, and then of course, having traveled quite a bit, I realized that if one set up a football academy, you could assist children with learning about life on the platform of sports. Because in the academy, we ask questions about the academics. We train them physically and mentally to be fit. We have sessions where eminent and Nigerians and professionals come to give them motivational lectures, and then of course that enriches their knowledge about life. So that has worked for me because at weekends it helps to free parents to go and do whatever they want to do on Saturdays, and we have the children engaged from 7:30 till 12 in various aspects of development, physical, mental, and then they make new friends. And then it's also an opportunity for them to meet adults who are not their parents or teachers in school. And all of those experiences, in my opinion, make these children better human beings on the platform of sports.
Okay, so is this academy going parallel to their normal education, or how do you balance up your?
Well, it's a weekend academy.
Okay.
It's they go to the school. They go to school during the week and come to the academy for weekend. It's not boarding system. Though we hope at some point to graduate to that level where we will now introduce proper educational programs in the school. But right now, it's just a football academy to assist these children to, unwind during the weekend after the long 5 days of going to school and going to classes. But they now have the opportunity to kick the ball around, jump around, make friends, shout, and laugh.
Okay, so I'm looking at politics that has inhibited so many talents in the country. Of course, we have very good talents at the grassroots who do not have opportunities of getting to the bigger platform. How do you want to use your experience in industry, especially in the sports industry, to drive this generation of people you're bringing up towards breaking that barrier?
Well, I can only provide a platform, and I'm one person out of how many who believe in these things. And I get to my limits and let go. You see, basically for me, sports at grassroots level and level which I operate, it's like a pyramid. It's wide at the bottom. So many people participate in it, and it thins out when these athletes or footballers get to an age, they either drop out to face the academics or go on to be in the elite athlete class. So a lot now depends on what they're exposed to as they grow older. We bring children in at age 5 to 15, but you will leave at 17 because that's the time to go to school or go into professional sports. So our own path is the training graduated in different ages. We do age 5 to 7, age 8 to 11, age 13 to 15, 15 to 17. The training program for those different age categories are different. And so we put what we need to put in you at different level. And when you get to a point, it's a decision to either go to school or face professional sports. And a lot has to do with a luck element in this part of the world because our coaches are very funny people, our instructors are very funny people. You see an obvious talent is ignored. And even when you mention, they're like, oh, we already have a full house. And I'll tell you my disappointment many times when I see the people who are representing Nigeria, and I know so many people who are better than those people we ignore. So we still have a system, a thing of systemic dysfunctionality. And that's one of the reasons why people like us are not exactly liked, because we tell them, hey, look at it. Look at the Super Eagles, for instance. For 4 weeks before Femi's appointment, I engaged the sports minister. I said, don't let this happen. Get a proper coach. Otherwise, it will end in tears. And we're going to, in the second world, we're going to miss the World Cup a second time if we're not careful. So the decision makers will listen to advice. They spend more time listening to civil servants who are thinking through their pockets. They are not thinking about the good of all. But again, you will say that goes across in the whole country. It's not just sports. And sport doesn't exist in a vacuum. And why would the governor of the central bank, buy a presidential ticket for 100 million? Where did he get it from? And things like those things that plague the larger society, plague sports, and reduce sports to nothingness.
Okay, so how do you manage funding, especially resources that need to be put in running this academy?
Well, my friends have always been very supportive. There one occasion when we had a sponsor, but the way these things work, when the marketing manager who believes in your project approves it and he moves on, another person comes in, he wants to make his own racket. He finds a reason to give to management why they should stop sponsoring. So, but again, we are lucky that when we had sponsorship, we bought equipment and we bought into people's minds. So now that things are quiet on that side, I have friends who send money in here and there, and then of course to pay the coach's salary, to buy equipment. Then we take a token by monthly subscription from the children. And then, of course, what you find is that the academy center in Surulere and VI have children whose parents can afford. But the center, the Korudu and Akowonjo, those ones can go. So those ones are more or less, they more or less come for free. And we manage the resources from the areas where they can pay and spread the joy.
Okay, so tell us how many locations you have and if there are plans to take it out of Lagos to make it a federal thing.
Football is usually played in certain areas. You can agree. Lagos, South, Kano, and Plateau. But I think there's space for everybody to set up something. So right now we have 4 centers, Surulere, Ikorodu, Akowonjo, and Victoria Island. We used to have in Benin too, but I've closed down the Benin Center for now. If anything, we're going to keep the 4 centers in Lagos and we open the one in Benin. And when funds allow, we'll build a permanent site.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Now, the coming months will be crucial in determining the effectiveness and impact of these policies, and it is imperative for the administration to remain responsive to the needs and aspirations of the Nigerian people. Of course, you could take a peek from the opinions of veteran sports journalist and political enthusiast Godwin Orumen, highlighting a pathway forward on the need for collaborative efforts, particularly between the government, private sectors, and civil society. I've been your host, Odiawa AI. Thanks for watching.